Hey, I'm Daniel, and my guest on today's episode of the Filmcraziest show is veteran Jon Hancock, the main documentary subject of the new film Bastards Road. The doc shares Jon's story as he walked 5,800 miles around the United States back in 2015 and 2016 as a way to ease the solitude of the road in company of his fellow Marine brothers and families of their fallen to successfully manage his wounds from war. Jon Hancock is also a consulting producer on the film. Bastards Road is available on DVD and it's also available on digital platforms wherever you get your films, including iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, and more. This is my second interview of the film after chatting with director Brian Morrison and musicians Daniel Strock and Michael Marks Gibbons. You can check out that link below. Let's get right into the interview with Jon Hancock to introduce us.
Hey, I'm Jon Hancock. I'm the documentary subject of Bastards Road, and you're watching the Filmcraziest show.
I am Daniel, the host of the Film Crazy Show. It's great to have you here, Jon. Like
Thanks for
we've
having me,
been
brother. Yeah,
saying, free talk.
yeah, man, absolutely.
So I figure I'd start with just you did your walk in 2016.
Yeah,
So
2015, 2016. Yeah.
right, yeah, you finished it in 2016. Thank you. When you started it in 2015, what went through your mind? Was there a lot of prep for it?
Yeah. Well, the impetus for it was really a hit to rock bottom, and there was a lot of drinking after I got out of the Marine Corps, and then there was a DUI, and then a year later there was another one, and then there's a suicide attempt. It wound me up in the Baltimore VA hospital on the psych ward for quite a few days, and then seeing a man named Mike Vitti who walked across the country. He had walked 1 kilometer for each person who had been killed in Iraq or Afghanistan since the '01 kickoff, and that it just spoke to me, and I was like, I have to do that, but I didn't know how because I've been drinking myself to death since I got out in '09, and now it's 2014, and I'm 308 pounds. I'm huge. So I get out of the hospital and I get on a mountain bike and I ride this mountain bike for like 10 months. And I went from 308 to 198 pounds and I was like, okay, now that I'm light enough to do it, now I can go walk across the country. And not knowing that it was going to turn into a real self-actualization and healing endeavor for myself, I started out ultimately with the pros of, I'll meet with my veteran brothers, my magnificent bastard brothers, and then the Gold Star families of our fallen. And that's really kind of how it all came to be.
Okay, wow. That's so lost 120 pounds before going on it,
Yeah, yeah.
if my math's correct.
Yeah, my math's probably not correct either, but I mean, I know I went from 308 to 198, so somewhere in there's a number, and that's how much I lost.
Okay, cool. Wow. Obviously the mountain biking must have helped you like with the physical training, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Of course, I didn't train my feet though, and that was a huge oversight on my part. So I didn't hike a bunch, and then all of a sudden I throw on this ruck and it's 70 pounds, and I start walking, and I had blisters for almost the entirety of the trip.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah, I never realized how much that your backpack would weigh, right?
Oh yeah, it hummed in between 68 and 83 pounds, depending on where I was in the country. If it was, if I'm in high desert in either Wyoming or Washington, then I've got to carry more water. But then I sweat more, so then I'm drinking more water. So it's this murderous cycle, trying to balance everything out. It's a massive balancing act. So that was always fun.
Now, was the most challenging part of your walk? Was it like physical or was it mental?
Both have both physical and mental have had their challenges. Physical was uh, easier to overcome after I had learned on the mental side of the house that I was growing and that I was actually healing, and that I was turning this into a healing endeavor for myself, and then using self accountability, which I had lost for a long time, to really uh, hold myself to the standard to which I wanted to be, and that really helped. So once that kind of fell into place, and I started realizing that I'm taking ownership of my life again, the physical part just kind of washed away, and I was like, all right, well, this hurts today, but whatever. And that's really kind of how it all went.
Okay. And then so seeing your your fellow soldiers, were they kind of like as like goals just to like in each city to get there?
Sure. Yeah, I could say they were goals. They were, I mean, because the route is so damn circuitous all over the United States because of where they lived. So, that person or that Gold Star family or that brother pulled me in that direction. So there was a reason that I was heading in that direction, and so it absolutely did become a goal.
I also wanted to ask about like I love the part of the documentary where I think it's Mikey Simons.
Hmm.
His mother gives you his pair of shoes. How many days did you wear those for? Or like how
Oh,
long
I
did the
wore
trip
I
last?
wore I wore those from Walsey, South Dakota to Spokane Valley. So I mean, I don't know what the mileage is on that. I've probably since forgotten, but I'd venture to say that's probably almost 800 miles or so. I maybe even longer. Hell, I don't even know. I'd have to look that up. Um, but yeah, I'd walk them for a while, and then I didn't want to damage them anymore because my intention was to give them back to her after I was done. And so I took them off, shoved them in my ruck, and then carried on with a pair of Columbias I had.
Okay. Now I hope this doesn't sound like a cheesy question, but like did when you were walking with them, did it feel like his spirit was with you kind of thing?
That's kind of neat because it was like when I kind of posted that video or whatever, I was updating everybody on Facebook about all my little cool stories every day. Um, and so of course you see those in the documentary, some of them anyway. I think there's like 3.5 hours of footage of just those, so you're not gonna watch that. But yeah, it was neat because it did feel it didn't feel like I was walking in a dead man's boots. It felt like I was walking and it was supporting me. And it felt, yeah, there was definitely some sort of spiritualism happening along that portion of the route for sure.
And I feel like just in general with your route, like you probably have like all of your soldiers and all your fallen soldiers and all of your 2-4 soldiers like just on your back kind of thing, right? Maybe.
Yeah, I mean it. Yeah, every morning I wake up and I don't know what I believe in to this day, but I do know that I think there's probably something out there. So but I just speak to my brothers who have passed, and kind of, hey, what's up, guys? Let's make it a good day. Don't get me in an accident. Let's make it okay. So I think they're listening.
Also, just for context, before we get further, could we just establish like how far you walked and then how long you walked,
Sure.
just for those who
So
don't know?
yeah, I started September 11th of 2015 at like 1:15 in the morning. And there's no, reason for that time. I was just super excited to get going and I was just antsy and I couldn't sleep and I was like, screw it, I'll just go right now. Um, over the course of the walk, I ended up doing about 5,807 miles walking. 70 pounds on my back, went through 7 pairs of shoes. And I ended December 12th of 2016 at the Camp Pendleton's 5th Marine War Memorial on board San Mateo, 62 area. So that's a total of 1 year, 3 months, and a day of walking.
Damn.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah. Now, what went through your mind when you set off at 1:15 in the morning, and then what happened when you ended?
Uh, those are, I guess when I started, I was very antsy. I was very nervous. I was excited. Within the first 4 miles, because I'm walking through College Park into Germantown, in Maryland, which is it's not the greatest area to get through. And so within the first, like I think 2 or 3 miles, it's 2:30, almost 3 o'clock in the morning. And some homeless dude is dumpster diving, sees me walking by, and then decides he wants to follow me. And I'm like, oh god, this is if this is the start of the trip, I don't even know what's going to happen. Um, and so that it was more nerves, and it was a lot of excitement. And then very quickly, it turned into very humdrum and very monotonous, and just all right, we're walking, keep going. And over the course of time, more and more memories would come up, and more opportunities I was presented with to face those memories and to kind of work through them without the presence of alcohol or mind altering substances or any of that bullshit, and just truly allowing my brain to react to the memory again, and doing that with physicality involved. It's a recipe for success in, really kind of working through memories that are traumatic. And then by the end of the walk, I was happy to be done. But 5, 6 days later, I'm on an airplane flying back to Maryland, and I was like, well, maybe I just kind of want to keep walking, And it was just something. It felt like it wasn't truly over, and then to come to find out that it won't ever be over, and it's because it's what I've chosen to do with my life, and so it's kind of neat that it was the start of the journey.
Okay, I like that. And obviously, like since this is coming out in 2021, about 5 years later, there's probably
Yeah.
been so much time for reflection on that personal journey as well.
Oh, absolutely. And then, I took it a couple steps further, at the kind of at the behest of my wife now. She had kind of told me, hey, you always want to do things for veterans. Why don't you start a hiking nonprofit like you talk about? And I'm like, yeah, that's the move. So I started a Bastards Road project, and we take veterans out on long distance hikes, and I show them, parts of the country that are absolutely gorgeous that they would otherwise not probably see. And they go hike, 20 to 40 miles through just the most epic backgrounds, and they carry heavy weight, and they understand kind of what I went through. They see what they're still capable of doing, both mentally and physically, and that's really kind of what I've decided to do with my life, and give that to other vets so they understand it.
That's so cool. Nice. Have any of them said like, oh, I could probably I could do 6,000 miles too?
There have been a few veterans over the course of time, who have, most of them I've not really known. I've never served with them, but they've found me out. They've sought me out, and then have, asked a bunch of questions about, what did it take. Can I do it? And I'm like, you can do anything you want, brother. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it. I started at 6 feet tall, and I'm now 5'10". So that's a lot of fun. But that, there's been a couple guys that have absolutely intimated that they would like to do that, and then I kind of never heard from them again. And checked in on a couple of them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, work, school, things got busy, can't do it." And I'm like, "Yeah, I get that."
Okay, so you actually lost a couple inches of height?
Oh yeah, I lost 2 inches.
Really? Just from
Yeah, yeah.
because you're
Well,
walking a lot?
yeah, it's 70 pounds on your back every day, walking 30 miles a day. Yeah, your spine compresses.
Ah, yeah. Oh wow. Okay, I didn't even like think about the logistics of that.
Yeah, no, like it takes a massive human toll physically on your body.
Wow. Okay. Well, worth it. I think.
Mm. Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. Cool. Um. Good. Has there been a favorite aspect of doing those hikes with the
Uh,
veterans?
just that I get to see veterans come together, and really kind of work through some of their issues. And then when they leave us, they're, for the next 2 or 3 weeks, everyone's kind of on a little hiking thread of like all the people that were participants, and they continually talk to each other. And this last hike we did, the guys were just so amped afterwards, and they were like, "We need to do another one." And I was like, "Guys, you can do this on your own." And they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna do that." So they're coordinating their own hike with just their group later on, and that's what I love to see, is just veterans finding each other, understanding there's a support network, and then going about utilizing it.
That's super cool. Because yeah, in the film, you guys talk about how there's such a bond between you guys, and it's like just an unbroken one. So that's very cool that you get that community as well with the hiking
Yeah,
afterwards.
absolutely, and it's, common only because we're veterans, and I think that's really awesome that you can bring veterans in from every walk of life, any cross section of America, and immediately they begin to feel comfortable with each other.
Now you had mentioned in the film, you guys talk about like just suicide issues with the veterans and just all of these aspects. What was that exploring that in the documentary? And I appreciate you guys bringing that into it.
Yeah, it, I think Brian really struggled with what this film was going to be, and he did that, I think, because he was, first off, he was learning about a man and his journey versus just immediately shoving a camera on it. And So as he's building this thing and we're talking, it becomes very apparent that suicide needs to be discussed in a very open manner because that information is not truly known by everyone. And to to thrust you into the middle of that conversation with just straight facts about what is absolutely happening to our veteran population after combat, it's needed, and I don't think the movie would be the same without that in there.
Yeah, and I really appreciated like just the vulnerability you show at times, and like everyone, just because like there's so much talk about just like the weakness of, I guess, showing of emotion, right?
Sure, sure, and yeah, and sadly, when in the military for a long period of time. Now this is starting to change, and we're starting to see a title shift, which is really nice. But for a long time, opening up about your mental health or something was absolutely considered weakness. And for us to really take that back and prove to everyone that it's not a weakness and in actuality it's a strength, you begin to unconsciously allow other veterans to do the same thing, to open up in their own way and talk to somebody and kind of get some things out there.
Okay. Now, um, what was it kind of surreal being filmed on your walk, or was that cool?
I forgot the camera was there a lot. Um, I am who I am on or off the camera, so it was nice to have Brian there because I was very lonely for portions of this walk, and having somebody to talk to was awesome. So when the camera came out, I was just like, "Oh, okay, well, here it is." And then after a while, I just totally forgot it was there. And it was always funny because some of my Marine Corps brothers, when they would, initially when Brian would come into the house, they'd be a little kind of like, "All right, how do I act or whatever?" And I was like, "You don't act at all, dude. You just be you." And eventually they started to forget the camera was there too, and that was really cool.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's a documentary. Just be yourself, right?
Yeah, just be yourself, man, and we'll figure it all out. I promise.
Cool. Now, yeah, because he had told me he made about 7 trips.
Yeah, he did seven. I think it was 7 or 8. So yeah, he had flown. He would fly out to me for a long weekend, or there was a couple where he flew out for like a couple days in the middle of the week. So, and I think one of them right near Montana. I think that was around 4th of July. He flew out for almost 11 days, I think. And so we had gone all over the place, places I had already walked to, places I was going to walk to, so that he could, get these amazing shots and views. And he was like, "All right, so what was the, most awesome place you were at in the past, 20 days?" And I was like, "Oh, dude, well, we got to go back there." And so we'd go back, and he's like, "Holy shit, this is amazing." I'm like, "I know." So, and then, he would show me, and I'd kind of tell him my route going forward, and he would drive me on that route so I could see it. And then going from Montana into Idaho and then into Spokane Valley, you got to go up 4th of July Pass, and you're just walking up. And I was like, I got to walk this? Like, this is going to suck. And it did.
Okay, so you know what you're getting into.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was interesting to do it that way. But it was also kind of logistically, it was the only way we could make that happen. Because Brian couldn't stay out there for, a year, 3 months and a day with me and just film me every day. It wasn't even, that wasn't even in the cards.
Yeah, fair. Because yeah, I was definitely like wondering about like when I was watching, I was like, okay, like so are is some of this reenactments, or like did they do this like, or like how much of it was he with?
I guess the only thing that was reenacted, I guess, was the beginning because he didn't know the beginning of the film, right? He didn't see the beginning of the walk. Brian caught up with me, and I was in Slidell, Louisiana, so I'd already gone all the way down to Miami, and then traced the Gulf back up into into the lower Gulf states, and yeah, so he had to redo that, and that was fine because I mean, contextually it works, so it's okay. It's just me knowing it's like, well, that's one pick, that's not me, but whatever.
Fair.
It happens, and it's okay for the film. It works, and it works fine, and it doesn't miss a step.
Okay. Now, did Brian ever put the the thing on his back, or did he have enough camera
Yeah,
equipment?
he asked me one day, and it was actually really surprising that he didn't ask me like the first or second trip. I think it was like the third or fourth. And he asked me, and he's like, "Hey man, can I put on the ruck?" And I was like, "Yeah, go ahead, just put it on." And he picked it up and put it on, and I saw his face, and he goes, "You walk with this?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, it's everything I own." And and he was like, "Holy shit, man!" Like he walked with it for I think like 2 minutes, and he was like, "I'm done. I'm absolutely done."
Now, when he asked, were you like, "Oh, thank God," or did you know that he wasn't going to have it on for long?
No, I knew he wasn't gonna have it on for long. I was like, it's a heavy ruck, so there's no way. And he was carrying camera gear, and then I would hold the camera gear so he could carry the pack and just see what it felt like. And he was like, "I'll take my camera gear back, please."
Okay, just a little straight off. Nice.
Yeah, right.
Now, I love that shot of you going into over like about to cross the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, that's gorgeous. It's like it's super drizzly that day, and it was kind of stormy. That was a really neat one. I was walking in to go see Diane Layfield at the Marines Memorial Club. She had secured a room for Brian and I at that hotel, and then we met there. So that was really cool. I think
Did
one of my favorite shots is actually the Bridge of the Gods shot when I'm walking across the border between Washington and Oregon. So that right there is like called the Dalles, and it's near White Salmon, Washington, and it's right on the PCT, and it's just this. I've always heard of this bridge, and I finally got to see it, and I got to walk over it. It was really cool.
Okay, cool. I can't picture it visually because I'm in Canada and I'm horrible with geography, but
Sure.
I'll I'll try to look back into at the documentary to find that moment. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's about. I think it's about 45 minutes, 50 minutes in.
Okay, okay. Now did you have a most prized possession on your walk?
I would say my walking stick. Um, and so I grabbed this walking stick in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. It's like right next to Gatlinburg, where Dollywood is. We'd gone there for a kind of a reunion of sorts between some of our brothers who could make it out, and so we were at breakfast one day, and there was this, there's just a little shop next door, and they got all these walking sticks, and I was like, that's what I'll do. I'll grab a walking stick, and then every veteran I meet, or every family of every veteran that I meet, I'll have them carve their name into it, and so I did, and that's actually down in Georgia for safekeeping with my folks right now. But yeah, that's probably it.
Wow. Oh, how many names do you have on it?
I couldn't count, brother. I 60, 70 ish.
Okay, I am asking all the for all these obscure numbers, knowing you
No,
didn't
I
know
know,
about
right? I'm like, yeah, for a guy that doesn't like math so much, you're asking a lot of math questions.
that. Didn't know it was going to be that kind of interview.
Yeah, right. So go, hang on, let me pull out my TI 83.
Just get my little black book with all my stats in.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, I love like the fun scenes in this film, like and just like of that moment where you sing "Shake It Off." Did you have any other songs that you listened to on the trip?
Oh yeah, I mean, that was my number one song. That was the first song I listened to every morning when I woke up. Uh, for some reason, it just like it got me motivated, and I just sit there and listen to it as I'm like packing up my tent, and I'm like putting everything back into my ruck, and I'm just singing Taylor Swift "Shake It Off." So every time that song comes on anywhere, wherever I am, I just immediately get up and start dancing and making a fool of myself. So. It'll be
I love it.
it happens in the grocery store a lot.
It's like, gosh, darn it! Now I have to do it.
Yeah, right. And of course, the wife knows. She goes, "Hey, honey, your song's on." Like, I'll just go stand over here.
Was that your wedding song?
Oh no, no, no. We did play it at the wedding though.
Okay, that must have been a good time.
Yeah, it was a great time, man. Yeah, we just got married 2 weeks ago, so it was awesome. It's
Cool.
kind of a small wedding. Also had kind of a online, I guess, live viewership thing, like almost like a Zoom for yeah, so everybody could log in and watch the wedding that couldn't make it because
Uh,
COVID kind of screwed everything up.
yeah, for sure. So I also wanted to ask, like, have you seen the documentary, and what was your reaction to it?
Oh yeah. So I'm. This is actually kind of a weird position, right? Because documentary subjects don't usually see the thing until it comes out, and I was in a. I'm labeled as a consulting producer on this film, and it's I've seen every iteration from the initial rough 3 hour 30 minute version to the final version, and I've had probably a little bit more than my fair share of input into this film, and Brian really, I think Brian was not lost in any way making this film, but he knew that if he was going to make it right, he had to enlist the help of the people who experience it. And he was very gracious about most of the critiques I've made. It's no secret. Brian and I have had some arguments, but really for him to listen to me and to other veterans and to actually take that advice in some of those cases probably is one of the reasons that it makes this film so strong.
Okay, so you guys are able to try to find the soul of it in a way.
Absolutely, and that's really heavily relies on Mark and Brian, with the peppering of the veteran input as well.
Okay, and what was it like seeing those montages, especially with the song Moses?
Yeah, that was neat. And so I had heard the song, and I knew that that song was going to be used. Like I knew it was written specifically for this film and for this journey. And so I'd heard the song, and I was like, "Wow, that's really neat." And then Brian built that music video off of it, and I watched that, and that was just amazing. And to see all those different montages with the work from Dan and Mike, who originally scored the film, was just, man, it was so neat. It was so cool to see that and just watch it all come together just so seamlessly.
Cool. Yeah, did you have a favorite experience about just producing in a way?
No, and I don't think I'll choose to do that ever again. It gives you a lot of anxiety. But just to be able to have the input though, and be able to help shape decisions, was a cool benefit that I got to experience.
So no more movie making for you.
I don't know. I mean, if you want me in a movie, I'll do that, sure. But I'm not gonna go try to produce anything or work that angle. That's not my cup of tea, man.
Ah, okay. So make you the star, just not behind the scenes.
There we go. That's it.
Okay, brilliant, cool. So I think that was my time. So Jon Hancock, who's the main documentary subject of Bastards Road, thank you for speaking with me on the Film Crazy Show, and thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, brother. Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man.